The great hall of the alien council was filled with laughter. Tall, shining creatures with skin like polished metal sat around a long table. Their eyes glowed faintly, their voices echoing in the vast chamber. These were leaders of a powerful empire, rulers of many worlds across the galaxy. They had destroyed countless enemies, conquered dozens of planets, and bent entire species to their will. Now their attention had turned to a new species, humans. The council displayed images of Earth's armies on a giant screen. They watched, videos of tanks rolling across deserts, fighter jets streaking through the sky, and soldiers carrying rifles. For the aliens, it was nothing but comedy. "Look at them." One alien laughed, its sharp teeth shining. "They still use fire and metal. Bullets, missiles, explosives, how primitive." Another joined in. "They burn chemicals for flight, throw sticks of metal and call them weapons. Their war machines are toys compared to our plasma cannons. Their ships crawl like insects while ours fly like gods." The hall echoed with mocking laughter. Only one alien did not laugh. He was Commander Ziran, a veteran of many wars. His eyes narrowed as he studied the images. Unlike the others, he did not see weakness. He saw something else. Something dangerous. "These humans," Ziran spoke slowly. "They are not like the others we have crushed. Do not judge too quickly. Their weapons may look simple, but I sense a hidden strength." The others waved him off. "Hidden strength?" sneered the Chancellor. "Their bullets cannot even scratch our armor. Their missiles are slow, their machines noisy and weak. They are nothing." But Ziran was not convinced. He had seen humans fight before, in small encounters along the outer colonies. Their weapons might look old, but the way humans used them was terrifying. They fought with passion, with stubbornness, and with clever tactics that confused their enemies. "They fight like cornered animals," he warned. "And a cornered animal is the most dangerous." Still, the council ignored him. Their arrogance filled the room like smoke. One elder alien rose and declared, "Let us show the galaxy how pathetic humans are. We shall send a fleet to one of their colonies. We will prove that their guns are nothing more than sticks and stones." The hall roared with approval. To them, it was a game. Crushing humans would be entertainment. They would teach these primitives a lesson in power. Far away on Earth, humans had no idea what was coming. Soldiers trained in dusty fields, unaware that eyes from the stars were watching them. Engineers worked on machines, pilots tested new aircraft, and generals planned defenses for wars only between nations, not against empires from beyond the stars. But the day was close. The day when humans would stand face to face with an enemy who believed them weak. The day when bullets, rockets, and steel would speak louder than alien arrogance. The council ended their meeting with one final round of laughter. "Primitive," one alien spat the word like poison. "That is what they are. Primitive creatures, with primitive tools. Nothing more." But Ziran did not laugh. He walked silently out of the chamber, his mind heavy with unease. He remembered the eyes of human soldiers, fierce, determined, unyielding. He had seen a squad of humans fight until their last breath, refusing to surrender even when defeat was certain. There was something inside them, something the council did not understand. And deep in his heart, Ziran feared the council's arrogance would be their downfall. Thus begins the story. Aliens laughed at human weapons, believing them to be primitive. But in their laughter, they failed to see the truth, that soon the so-called primitive weapons would shake the galaxy and write a legend no one could forget. The alien fleet rose from the darkness of space like a wall of steel and fire. Hundreds of warships, glowing with energy, moved silently through the void. Their mission was clear: strike at a human colony, crush its defenses, and return with proof that humans were weak. The target was Erebos, a small mining colony on the edge of human space. It was not Earth, not even a major city, just a dusty world where workers dug minerals from the ground. To the aliens, it was the perfect place to make their point. If humans could not protect a small colony, they could not protect their homeworld either. Inside the alien flagship, the Chancellor stood tall, his silver armor shining in the glow of holographic screens. He looked down at the planet with cold eyes. "This will be easy," he declared. "Their weapons are crude. Their ships are slow. We will finish this in one day." The alien commanders bowed in agreement. Only Xiron, the cautious veteran, remained silent. He had seen too much war to trust easy victories. Meanwhile, on Erebos, the humans had already detected strange signals from deep space. The colony's commander, General Marcus Hale, gathered his officers in the command bunker. On the screen, red blips filled the radar. The aliens were coming. "Gentlemen," Marcus said firmly, "we are outnumbered. Their technology is beyond anything we've faced before. But we are not helpless. We have something they don't. Our courage, our brains, and our will to survive." The officers nodded. They knew the truth. This battle would not be easy. But surrender was not an option. Across the colony, soldiers prepared for war. In the hangars, fighter pilots strapped into their jets. Engines roared as mechanics rushed to load missiles and fuel. The smell of oil and steel filled the air. On the ground, tanks rolled across the desert plains, their tracks carving deep scars into the sand. Crews loaded shells into the cannons, the heavy clank of metal echoing through the night. Infantry squads checked their rifles, tightened their armor, and dug trenches. Sweat dripped from their brows, but their eyes were hard and determined. One young soldier whispered, "Do you think we can win?" His sergeant placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "We don't need to be stronger. We just need to fight smarter. And that's what humans do best." High above, the alien fleet began to descend. The sky grew dark as massive warships blocked out the stars. The ground shook as their engines burned through the atmosphere. Alien commanders watched with amusement as they scanned human defenses. Trenches, tanks, fireworks in the sky. One laughed. "This is a joke." But Xiron did not laugh. He watched the human soldiers carefully, noting how organized they were, how calm they looked in the face of death. He muttered under his breath, "They are ready. They are not afraid." The Chancellor smirked. "Then we will break them." The battle began with fire from the heavens. Alien warships unleashed plasma bombardments, striking the ground with blinding explosions. Buildings crumbled. Dust filled the air, and firestorms swept through the colony. But the humans did not run. They returned fire. Anti-aircraft guns roared, launching streams of missiles into the sky. Fighter jets streaked upward, weaving through enemy fire, their engines screaming. Tanks rolled forward, blasting at alien walkers that had landed on the surface. The aliens were shocked. This is impossible," one commander stammered. "Their weapons should be useless." But human weapons were not useless. Bullets tore through alien armor. Missiles found weak points in their shields. Traps buried in the sand destroyed walkers as soon as they stepped onto the battlefield. In the command bunker, Marcus Hale watched the battle unfold. His voice was steady as he gave orders. "Keep them guessing. Hit their weak points. Use the terrain. Make them bleed for every inch." The humans fought like wolves, striking fast, disappearing, then striking again. They turned the desert into a trap, forcing the aliens into kill zones. For every human that fell, 10 aliens went down. On the alien flagship, the Chancellor's confidence began to crack. He slammed a clawed hand onto the table. "They are savages. How are they doing this?" Xiron finally spoke. His voice was cold, almost like a whisper of doom. "You called them primitive, but look at them now. Their weapons may not shine like ours, but they are built for war. They fight not with pride, but with desperation, and desperation makes them deadly." The Chancellor's face twisted with rage. He refused to admit defeat. "Then we will crush them with everything we have. No more games. Bring the main fleet into the battle." The humans, however, were already preparing their next move. General Marcus stood before his soldiers. The ground shook as explosions lit the sky behind him. "Today they come to test us," he said loudly, his voice carrying over the roar of war. "They think we are weak. They think our weapons are primitive, but today we show them what humanity is made of. Today, we fight not just for this colony, but for every human alive. We will not fall. A cheer erupted among the soldiers. They lifted their rifles and shouted as one, "For humanity!" The first true clash had begun. The aliens thought it would be easy, but already their arrogance was cracking. What they thought were primitive weapons were proving to be more powerful and more terrifying than they ever imagined, and this was only the beginning. The desert sky of Erebos burned red as alien ships descended. The ground shook with each impact as massive walkers landed, their metal legs crushing sand and stone. Plasma turrets unfolded, glowing with deadly energy. Alien soldiers marched in, perfect formation, their armor shining under the strange sun. The aliens were confident. To them, this was not war, it was a demonstration. They believed the humans would fall quickly, crushed by the weight of advanced technology. Their weapons hummed with power, each plasma shot hot enough to melt steel. From the dunes, hidden eyes watched. Human soldiers lay in their trenches, rifles ready. Tanks crouched behind ridges, their barrels pointing toward the alien walkers. Fighter jets circled in the distance, waiting for the signal. Every man and woman held their breath. Then, the first alien shot was fired. A plasma bolt screamed across the sky and exploded against the human defenses, sending sand and fire into the air. The aliens cheered, convinced victory had begun. But then the humans answered. From the trenches, rifles cracked. Bullets, fast and furious, cut through the air. At first, the aliens laughed again. Bullets? Against our armor? They scoffed. But the laughter died quickly. Alien soldiers began to fall. The bullets, small and simple, punched through weak points in their suits. Sparks burst from armor. Blue alien blood sprayed across the sand. The aliens froze in disbelief. How is this possible? One soldier cried before collapsing. The humans did not stop. Machine guns roared, unleashing endless fire. Tanks opened up with thunderous blasts, their shells smashing into alien walkers. One walker staggered, sparks bursting from its joints before collapsing with a crash that shook the ground. The aliens, who expected an easy victory, were now watching their mighty machines crumble. Above, the fighter jets screamed into action. They cut through the sky like arrows, dodging plasma fire as they launched missiles. Explosions bloomed in the air, ripping through alien dropships. One burning wreck spun downward, crashing into the desert with a fiery explosion. The alien fleet commanders stared in shock. "This cannot be," shouted one. "These weapons are crude, yet they tear us apart." Zyran, standing at the edge of the command deck, spoke calmly. "You were blind. You looked at the tools but not the hands that use them. Humans fight with fury, with desperation. Every bullet they fire is a blade of survival." The Chancellor's face twisted in rage. "They are savages. Crush them harder. Send more troops." On the ground, the battle raged with chaos. A squad of human soldiers crawled through the sand, flanking an alien turret. Plasma fire scorched the ground around them, but they kept moving, determination burning in their eyes. At the right moment, one soldier tossed a grenade. The explosion tore the turret apart, throwing alien soldiers back in pieces. Another group of humans lured an alien walker into a canyon. The massive machine followed, firing plasma down into the narrow path. But the humans had mined the walls with explosives. With a single trigger, the canyon collapsed, burying the walker under tons of rock and fire. Everywhere, humans turned the terrain into a weapon. They fought not just with guns, but with cleverness. Alien soldiers began to panic. They're perfect. Formations broke apart under the relentless human attacks. Their shields flickered and died. Their advanced armor cracked under the primitive force of human firepower. One alien officer screamed into his communicator, "They fight like demons. They do not retreat. They do not fear," before a sniper's bullet cut him down mid-sentence. The human soldiers, covered in dust and sweat, pressed forward. Their rifles grew hot, their tanks roared, and their jets painted the sky with trails of fire. Every human voice shouted the same word, over and over: "Fight." From orbit, Alien commanders stared in disbelief. The battle that was supposed to be over in minutes had turned into a nightmare. Their losses were climbing. Their enemy, the primitive humans, were refusing to fall. "They are tearing us apart," muttered one alien, his voice shaking. The Chancellor slammed his fists on the table. "Impossible. We are the masters of war." Ziran's cold eyes turned toward him. "No," he said quietly. "Not today. Today they are." Down on the battlefield, General Marcus Hale stood tall in the command post, his eyes never leaving the screens. He saw the tide turning. For every alien that fell, more humans rose to fight. For every machine destroyed, another trap was sprung. He spoke into the radio, his voice steady and strong. "Do not stop. Push them back. Make them understand. Humanity does not bow." The soldiers answered with a roar, their voices echoing across the desert. And in that moment, the first contact was decided. The aliens had come with arrogance, but they were leaving with fear. They had laughed at human weapons, but now they understood. The rifles, the tanks, the missiles. These were not toys. They were the teeth of a predator. By nightfall, the battlefield was littered with burning wrecks and broken machines. The aliens retreated into the sky, their pride shattered. Humanity had survived the first clash. But as General Marcus looked at the stars, he knew this was only the beginning. The aliens would come again, with more fleets, more power, more fury. And when they did, humanity would be ready. The smoke of battle still hung over Erebos when the night fell. Fires burned across the desert plains, lighting the dark sky in orange and red. Wrecked alien walkers lay half-buried in the sand, their glowing cores flickering like dying stars. Human tanks stood guard near the trenches, their cannons still warm from the fight. The aliens had retreated for now, but no one believed it was over. The colony was scarred, yet the soldiers knew the next wave would come soon. Inside the human command bunker, General Marcus Hale leaned over a table covered with maps and data screens. His face was tired, his uniform stained with dust. But his eyes were sharp. Around him, officers spoke quickly, reporting on ammo counts, damaged vehicles, and wounded soldiers. "We can't match them ship for ship," one officer said. "If they return in full force, we won't survive." Marcus raised a hand. "Then we don't fight them ship for ship. We fight them our way. We don't need to be stronger. We only need to be smarter." At the same time, aboard the alien flagship, the Chancellor raged. "This is an insult. We were supposed to crush them in minutes." His claws scraped across the command table. "How can crude guns and steel machines bring down our walkers?" The alien commanders shifted nervously. None dared to speak the truth. That arrogance had blinded them. Only Ziran's voice broke the silence. "They fight with strategy," he said calmly. "Their weapons are simple, but their minds are sharp. They use the land, the shadows, the timing of every move. That is why they survive." The Chancellor growled. "Then we will drown them in numbers. We will burn their colony to the ground." But Ziran only shook his head. Deep down, he knew it wouldn't be so easy. Back on the ground, the humans were preparing their traps. The desert around Erebos was full of canyons, ridges, and abandoned mines. Soldiers placed explosives in narrow passes, rigging the cliffs to collapse. Engineers built decoys, fake tanks made from scrap metal designed to lure alien fire. Pilots planned ambush routes, hiding jets in low valleys until the perfect moment to strike. Even the miners joined the defense, tunneling beneath the battlefield. They set charges underground, ready to turn the very earth into a weapon. "Let them come again," Marcus told his men. "Every step they take will be a mistake. Every move they make will cost them." The next day, the aliens returned. There, ships darkened the sky once more, filling the air with the sound of thunder. Walkers marched across the sands, plasma turrets glowing with deadly light. Alien soldiers advanced in tight lines, confident that their superior numbers would overwhelm the humans. The first blasts of plasma struck the human defenses, but this time the soldiers did not fire back immediately. They waited, hidden, letting the aliens move deeper into the trap. Then it began. Explosions ripped through the canyon paths as buried charges detonated. Entire squads of alien soldiers were buried under collapsing rock. Walkers fell into hidden pits, their heavy legs snapping as they crashed. From the ridges, tanks opened fire, shells slamming into alien lines from above. Jets swooped down from the clouds, releasing missiles before vanishing back into cover. Machine guns rattled from hidden bunkers, cutting through alien troops. The aliens fired wildly, blasting decoy tanks and false targets. Their plasma bolts wasted against scrap metal while the real human forces struck from the shadows. In the chaos, the alien commanders shouted in confusion. "They are everywhere," one cried. "We cannot see them." "They fight like ghosts," another yelled. Zai ran. Watching from his ship, could only nod grimly. He understood now. Humans were not just soldiers, they were hunters. Every trap was a snare, every shot a test of patience, every movement designed to draw blood. On the ground, the alien soldiers began to break. Their perfect formations scattered as explosions and gunfire tore through them. For every alien advance, the humans had already prepared an answer. General Marcus watched the battlefield from his bunker. His voice was calm as he gave orders. Squad 3, push them into the canyon. Squad 5, spring the mines. Air support, strike their rear formation now. Every command was timed perfectly. The aliens, used to enemies fleeing in panic, could not comprehend the precision of the human defense. It was as if the humans knew their every move before they made it. By nightfall, the desert was littered with burning wreckage. Alien bodies lay among shattered machines, the sand stained with blood both red and blue. In orbit, the Chancellor stared at the reports with disbelief. His fleet had suffered more losses in 2 days against humans than in years of galactic conquest. His arrogance had turned to fear. Zayran spoke softly, almost as if to himself. "You called their weapons primitive, but what you fear is not the weapon. What you fear is the hand that wields it." The Chancellor's silence was answer enough. On the battlefield, human soldiers gathered around their fires, tired but alive. They knew the war was far from over. The aliens would return with greater fury, but tonight they had proven something important. They were not prey. They were not weak. Humanity had shown the galaxy a new kind of power, the power of strategy, courage, and survival, and every alien who faced them now carried the same thought. If this is how they fight with primitive weapons, what happens when they create something greater? The battlefield of Erebos was silent after the second alien retreat. Smoke drifted across the desert, carrying the smell of fire, metal, and blood. Human soldiers sat in their trenches, their faces dark with exhaustion but their eyes alive with determination. They had survived 2 battles against an empire that believed them nothing more than insects. In the underground command center, General Marcus Hale stood at the head of a large hollow table. The flickering map showed red dots, alien forces surrounding the colony. Blue dots representing human defenders were far fewer in number. An outsider looking at the map would see only one outcome: certain human defeat. But Marcus did not see the map the way the aliens did. He saw possibilities. He saw traps waiting to be sprung. He saw how courage could turn weakness into strength. "We can't outgun them," said Colonel Reyes, his second in command. "Their fleet is massive. Their technology is far ahead of ours. If they bring their full force, we're finished." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "Then we don't fight their war. We make them fight ours." While the aliens licked their wounds, humans prepared the battlefield. Soldiers worked through the night, digging fresh trenches, wiring explosives, and camouflaging positions. Engineers set up electronic jammers to disrupt alien communications. In the canyons, miners placed bombs deep inside the cliffs. Pilots memorized hidden flight paths through the valleys. Every street of the colony was turned into a maze of traps. It was not brute force, it was patience and planning. High above, in the alien flagship, the Chancellor was furious. "These humans are defiant," he snarled. "They refuse to bow. Their weapons are crude, yet they dare to wound us." His voice shook the chamber. One commander hesitated before speaking. "Perhaps we underestimated." The Chancellor silenced him with a glare. "No, they are primitives. They delay the inevitable. Tomorrow we will end this. Only Zyron spoke, calmly. Chancellor, they fight differently than any enemy we've faced. They do not meet strength with strength. They use deception. They bleed us one strike at a time. The Chancellor slammed his clawed fist onto the table. Then we will burn their tricks to ash. But in his heart, Ziran knew the truth. The humans were no ordinary foe. Dawn broke over the desert. The alien fleet descended once again, casting shadows across the sands. Walkers the size of towers stomped forward. Swarms of alien soldiers poured from dropships, their armor glowing with energy. The aliens advanced with confidence. They expected a broken defense. Instead, they walked into a carefully laid web. At first, the humans did nothing. The aliens fired plasma into empty trenches and destroyed decoy tanks. Laughter spread through their ranks. See? They are finished, one commander boasted. But then the earth exploded. Charges buried under the sand erupted, tearing holes through alien formations. Plasma turrets hidden in ruins opened fire. Human snipers concealed in the cliffs picked off officers with deadly accuracy. The aliens roared in confusion. "Where are they?" one shouted. "They strike from shadows." Another screamed. In the canyon passes, alien walkers lumbered forward. The ground trembled with each step. But as they reached the narrowest point, the cliffs above erupted. Explosives detonated, sending tons of rock crashing down. Entire squads were buried alive. Walkers toppled like broken statues. Elsewhere, jets screamed across the sky, hidden until the last second. They flew low through valleys, rising suddenly to unleash missiles at alien dropships. Explosions painted the heavens with fire. Human tanks did not meet the enemy head-on. Instead, they struck in ambushes, firing a few shots before disappearing behind dunes. Each strike drew the aliens deeper into the traps. General Marcus watched the chaos unfold. His voice remained steady as he gave commands. Squad 4 hit their flank. Squad 7 collapse the tunnels now. Air support, strike the rear line. Every order was precise. Every move pushed the aliens where he wanted them. The humans were outnumbered, but the aliens fought blind, stumbling into death at every turn. Inside the alien command ship, panic spread. "They are everywhere," shouted one officer. "We cannot track them." "They vanish and strike again," cried another. The Chancellor's face twisted with rage. "Impossible. They are primitives." Zyran's cold gaze never left the battlefield screens. "Primitives do not fight like this," he whispered. "They fight like hunters." As night fell, the aliens were forced back once again. The desert was filled with burning machines and broken bodies. Human soldiers, bruised and bloodied, stood victorious over the wreckage. In the silence after battle, one young soldier asked, "General, do you think we can really win?" Marcus looked at the dark horizon. "We don't need to be stronger. We only need to be clever enough to make their strength useless." The soldier nodded, a small smile breaking through his exhaustion. In orbit, the Chancellor sat in silence, his pride in ruins. The humans had humiliated him again. But worse than defeat was the creeping fear spreading through his fleet. Soldiers whispered in the corridors. Officers avoided his gaze. For the first time, his empire doubted, and in the darkness Ziran thought of the words he had spoken long ago. Do not underestimate them. Now it was too late. The humans had already shown the galaxy that brains, courage, and unity could turn primitive weapons into the most dangerous force of all. The desert winds howled across Arivos, carrying the stench of smoke and burnt metal. Human soldiers stood bloodied but unbroken. The battles had been brutal, but they had survived. For the first time, the galaxy's strongest warriors, the aliens who had conquered countless worlds, were shaken by a species they once mocked. General Marcus Hale knew the truth. Survival alone was not enough. The aliens would return again, and again, each time with greater force. If humanity wanted to endure, they needed more than defense. They needed a strike so devastating that the aliens would never forget it. In the command bunker, Marcus spoke to his officers. The holotable glowed with red markers showing alien ships in orbit. "They think we are prey," he said. "They think we are weak. But tonight we prove them wrong. Tonight we strike back." The room fell silent. Every soldier knew the risk. Attacking the alien fleet was madness. But Marcus's eyes burned with determination, and that fire spread to everyone present. The plan was dangerous. Human intelligence had discovered a weakness. The alien fleet's command ship, a massive vessel orbiting above, controlled much of their coordination. Its shield was nearly impenetrable, but during recharging cycles a small window opened, a chance to hit it where it hurt. "We can't destroy the whole fleet," Marcus said. "But if we take out their command ship, we take their heart. We make them bleed." Night fell over the colony. Human forces prepared in silence. Fighter jets were armed with their last stock of heavy missiles. Tanks repositioned for covering fire. Infantry squads carried portable launchers and explosives ready for diversion attacks. Miners volunteered to guide the strike team through hidden tunnels leading toward the alien landing sites. Every man and woman understood. This could be their last battle. In orbit, the Chancellor paced the command deck, his arrogance shaken but not gone. "These humans delay the inevitable," he growled. "Tomorrow we will crush them once and for all." Zyron, standing nearby, did not answer. His eyes studied the battlefield feeds, noting the strange silence in human positions. Something was wrong. "They are planning something," he muttered. But before the Chancellor could respond, the humans made their move. The assault began with chaos. From the desert trenches, humans unleashed a barrage of rockets and artillery. Explosions lit the sky, forcing the alien ground forces into defense. Jets streaked upward, their engines roaring as they tore through the atmosphere toward orbit. The aliens scrambled to respond. Plasma cannons fired wildly, chasing the jets. Dropships lifted into the air, trying to intercept. The battlefield became a storm of fire and light. But this was only the distraction. Hidden beneath the surface, a small group of human commandos, guided by miners, emerged near the alien landing zone. They moved silently, planting explosives on supply depots and fuel cells. One by one, the alien structures erupted in fire, creating confusion across the enemy lines. Above the planet, the real strike began. Human jets broke formation, diving toward the alien command ship. The massive vessel loomed like a mountain of steel, its shields glowing. Plasma fire rained down around them, shredding several fighters from the sky. But the survivors pressed on. "Shields are cycling," shouted one pilot. "Now's the chance." Missiles streaked forward, slamming into the exposed hull. Explosions ripped across the command ship's surface. The vessel groaned, its lights flickering. Inside, alarms blared. Alien officers screamed for control. The Chancellor staggered as the ship shook violently. "Impossible," he roared. "Primitive weapons cannot harm us." But the damage was real. The humans had found the weakness and struck with everything they had. On the ground, the soldiers cheered as they saw the sky erupt in flames. The alien command ship, once untouchable, was now burning. Pieces of debris fell like meteors, crashing into the desert. General Marcus clenched his fist. That's it. They'll never forget this night. The aliens, once full of pride, now fought in panic. Without the coordination of their command ship, their lines broke. Walkers stumbled, soldiers fled, and their once mighty fleet began to pull back. In orbit, the Chancellor's arrogance finally shattered. Smoke filled the command deck as systems failed. He turned toward Zyron, his face twisted in disbelief. They were supposed to be nothing. Zyron's gaze was cold. You laughed at their weapons. You mocked their strength. Now you see the truth. Primitive? No. They are predators. The Chancellor had no answer. His silence was heavier than defeat. On the battlefield, the humans raised their weapons and shouted in triumph. They were tired, battered and scarred, but they had achieved the impossible. They had struck fear into the heart of the galaxy's greatest empire. One young soldier whispered to another, "If they're afraid now, imagine what will happen when we build even stronger weapons." The other smiled. Then the galaxy won't just fear us, it will respect us. That night, as the alien fleet retreated into the stars, a new chapter of history was written. Humanity was no longer a forgotten race on a small world. They had announced themselves with fire and steel. The turning point had come, and the galaxy would never see humans the same way again. The galaxy was vast, filled with countless stars and countless civilizations. For ages, one empire had stood above the rest, an empire so strong, so advanced that no species dared to defy it. Their fleets swept through the stars like storms. Their weapons melted entire cities in seconds. Their name alone inspired fear. But now whispers spread across the void. Whispers of a battle on a forgotten mining colony. Whispers of a species called humans. In the alien capital, the council chamber was silent. The chancellor stood before the high elders, his armor scorched from the failed campaign. He had once promised them an easy victory. Now he brought only shame. The reports cannot be true, one elder hissed. You expect us to believe that humans, creatures with bullets and rockets, damaged our fleet? But the evidence was undeniable. Recordings of the battle were displayed on glowing screens. The elders watched in disbelief as human jets pierced alien defenses, as tanks shattered walkers, as infantry with rifles brought down soldiers clad in advanced armor. They saw the moment the great command ship exploded in fire. The council chamber, once proud, now trembled with unease. Beyond the empire, other species listened as the stories spread. Traders whispered in spaceports. Smugglers carried the tale from world to world. And everywhere the reaction was the same: shock. Impossible, said one reptilian merchant. They called the humans primitive, yet they destroyed a fleet. A bird-like diplomat shook his head. Not destroyed. Worse, they made the empire bleed. And that has never happened before. On distant worlds, smaller civilizations who had long lived in fear of the empire felt something strange for the first time: hope. If humans can fight back, said a leader of a minor colony, maybe so can we. Perhaps the empire is not invincible, another whispered. For generations, the galaxy had accepted the empire's dominance as unbreakable. But now, one small human colony had shattered that illusion. Inside the empire's fleet, soldiers whispered among themselves. They remembered the desert of Erevos, the relentless fire of human guns, the terrifying precision of their traps. Some called the humans demons, others called them predators. All agreed on one thing: they never wanted to face them again. One soldier, his armor scarred from battle, muttered to his comrade, "They fight like death itself. They do not stop. They do not fear. They should not exist." The words spread like poison through the ranks. Fear, once unthinkable, had taken root. Ziran, the veteran commander, sat alone in his quarters. His gaze was fixed on the stars beyond the viewport. Unlike the others, he did not feel only fear. He felt respect. He remembered the look in the human soldier's eyes, fierce, unyielding, alive with a fire no technology could extinguish. He whispered to himself, "They are not primitive. They are the future." Back on Earth, humanity celebrated. The news of victory spread quickly. For the first time, humans realized they were not just survivors. They were warriors feared across the stars. Crowds cheered in cities. Families of soldiers wept with pride. Children dreamed of joining the ranks one day. But in the quiet rooms of power, human leaders were cautious. This was only the beginning, General Marcus said in a meeting with Earth's Council. They will return, stronger than before. We must prepare. And so humanity began to build. Factories roared with new life. Engineers worked day and night, improving weapons, upgrading ships, designing defenses that could withstand even greater storms. Humanity had tasted victory, but they knew survival would demand more. In the galaxy beyond, fear turned into questions. How could bullets pierce shields? Asked one scientist on a distant world. Why do missiles made from simple fuel destroy ships of plasma and steel? Asked another. But those who understood whispered the truth. It was not the weapons. It was the humans. Humans fought with desperation, with creativity, with a will to win at any cost. They turned weakness into strength. They turned every scrap of metal into a weapon. And that made them the most dangerous species of all. The Empire tried to silence the rumors declaring the Battle of Erebos an unfortunate accident. But the galaxy had already seen the recordings. They had already heard the screams of alien soldiers and the roar of human jets. They had seen the mighty Empire retreat, and no lie could erase the truth. Across the stars, 3 words began to spread, spoken in awe and fear. Fear the humans. The stars above Erebos were quiet again. The alien fleet had withdrawn, leaving only wreckage behind. Burned ships floated in orbit like broken bones, and the desert surface was scarred with craters and fire. Humanity had survived what no one thought possible. But victory was not the end. It was only the beginning. In the human command bunker, General Marcus Hale stood before his soldiers. Their uniforms were torn, their faces marked with dust and exhaustion, but their eyes were alive with fire. They had faced the strongest empire in the galaxy and sent it retreating. "You fought with courage," Marcus said, his voice strong. "You fought with unity, and together, we showed them what it means to face humanity." A cheer rose, echoing through the halls. For the first time, these soldiers felt not just like defenders of a colony, but guardians of a species. Far away, in the alien empire's capital, the Chancellor faced the High Council. His pride was shattered, his voice heavy with defeat. "They are dangerous," he admitted. "We mocked their weapons. We called them primitive. But in our arrogance, we forgot that weapons do not fight alone. It is the will behind them that decides victory." The chamber fell into silence. These were words no alien ruler had ever spoken. For centuries, their empire had believed itself invincible. Now they were forced to face the truth. A new power had risen, and it came from a small blue planet called Earth. News spread across the galaxy faster than light. Traders carried stories, smugglers whispered secrets, and recordings of the battle reached worlds that had never even heard of humanity. Some species laughed nervously, still unable to believe. Others felt fear coil in their hearts, and some, the oppressed, the enslaved, felt hope for the first time in generations. "If humans can wound the Empire," one leader said quietly, "then maybe the Empire can fall." The legend of humanity began to grow. On a border world, an alien veteran spoke to a group of young recruits. His body was scarred, his armor cracked from the Battle of Erebos. "You asked me what humans are," he said. "They are not demons, though they fight like them. They are not gods, though they strike like thunder. They are human, and that makes them more dangerous than anything we have ever faced." His words spread like wildfire. Soon, across countless systems, a new phrase was whispered: "Do not fight the humans, respect them, or regret it." Meanwhile, on Earth, humanity prepared for the future. Factories worked day and night. Scientists studied alien technology, blending it with human invention. Soldiers trained harder than ever before. But humanity did not celebrate blindly. Leaders knew that the Battle of Erebos was only the first test. The Empire would return, and next time they would bring even greater power. General Marcus stood before Earth's council, his voice calm but firm. "We cannot be arrogant," he said. "They will come again, but we will be ready. Every city, every soldier, every mind must prepare, because the lesson is not just for them. It is for us too. Survival means we never stop improving." The council nodded, and so the gears of preparation began to turn. In the depths of space, Commander Zyran sat alone watching the stars. He had fought countless wars, but none had shaken him like this one. He remembered the eyes of human soldiers, eyes that refused to surrender even in the face of death. "They are not primitive," he whispered to himself. "They are the future, and the galaxy is not ready for them." For the first time in his long life, Zyran felt something he had never felt toward an enemy: respect. The galaxy had learned a lesson. It was not technology alone that made a species powerful. It was not numbers or pride. True power came from resilience, unity, and the will to fight for survival. Humans had all three, and they wielded them with terrifying skill. The aliens had called their weapons primitive. But on Erebos, the galaxy, discovered a truth that would echo for generations. Humanity itself was the weapon. And this was only the beginning of their story.